Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. I've been making videos on this channel for over 7 years, and during that time I've been approached by a lot of advertisers who want to sell you stuff. And a lot of them just have their own decanter, so don't worry about those. But sometimes people come up with actually cool ideas, and they're usually the ones that I really support and kind of show off on this channel a bit. So I wanted to kind of get this idea for a video where I show you the whiskey gear that I actually use. The stuff that for years, even after getting it or buying it, I still use. So let's start off with a couple of the obvious ones, just get them out of the way, but they're still worth mentioning. So obviously a Glencairn. There's nothing more important than a Glencairn for tasting, or more specifically, nosing your whiskey. Just something about the way that it's shaped, it concentrates the aromas, etc., etc. Really, really good. If you don't know what a Glencairn is, check out the video up there, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other links to everything I'm going to talk about up here. So Glencairns are fantastic for nosing. You should have a billion of them in your house, because when you start to taste, you're going to go with other people. You're going to want to share stuff. You should all be drinking out of the same glass. All right. Other than that, rocks glass, also pretty obvious. But one thing that I really like in a rocks glass is a heavy, thick bottom, which, yes, the jokes write themselves. But this is just really nice. I like a thicker bottom because if I put a ice cube in here, it's not going to condensate onto the table. It's got that little bit of an insulation. Also, a weightier glass, to me, feels nice. So let's move on from the obvious glasses, and actually some less obvious glasses. Now, these were a little bit more of a surprise. When I first got these, I really liked them out of the box. I liked the concept and the promise of being able to travel with these, take them to the pool or like a hot tub, not worry about shattering them on the ground and walking around barefoot. So the Snute glasses are made of stainless steel, and you might be thinking, okay, well, they're going to taste like metal. They don't at all. It's food grade stainless steel, and it's honestly just great. I use these constantly, especially when I'm drinking with people. I wish I had more than 2 of these, and maybe actually I should just buy more than 2 of them. But either way, I really like the black ones. They just look nice, but they come in a couple different colors. All right, Snute glasses. Next. So this one, let's go away from glasses for a minute. So water dropper, super easy. Now these are fairly cheap on Amazon. This one right here is pretty big. It's like 4 ounces of water, which you totally don't need that much of. But I use this when I'm on a live stream because sometimes I'm watering down things. But in general, this has a little dropper tip. And so it's very easy. You take it out and you can do like a couple of little drops, whatever you want, into your whiskey to proof down a cask strength whiskey. So very, very helpful, and something I have been using pretty much since day one. Well, that's not true. A couple of years in. Prior to that, I was using little plastic pipettes, which they just looked so awful. So this actually looks pretty cool. All right. Next. So, we're talking whiskey. We're going to be talking about containers for whiskey. So let's talk about flasks. Now, flasks are kind of an interesting one because you either do or don't have a use for a flask. If you are the kind of person to want to bring whiskey somewhere with you, a flask can make sense. You can get one with, your initials on it, like this one, or you can get one with a sports team logo, or really whatever you want. Personally, I think if you're going to get a flask, invest in something nice, because it does make a difference if it looks nice. It makes you look like less of an alcoholic. So this one right here that I have it's got leather on it. It's fake leather, but it still looks like leather. And it's got my initials monogrammed on it. And I got this for a gift. And I've been using it for probably about 15-ish years, maybe even longer. I really, really like this flask. This one I got from Kilbeggan. It's copper. It looks pretty cool. I don't use this one a whole lot. I've used it a few times when I need to maybe bring a couple things, but in general, you can get whatever you like and you can make your flask look pretty cool. So flasks, really good idea. You'll probably get some mileage out of them. All right, so let's move on. I'm just looking around. I'm not doing these in any particular order. So let's move on to something else. So black Glencairns. These are cool, but they're a little niche. So for me, I use them. You may not. But what you can do with a black Glencairn is, let's say that you have 4 different bourbons or 4 different Speyside scotches, and you want to test yourself. Now, you can't see the colors, so you're losing that little bit of knowledge that you might have, especially if you have the bottles on the table. But what you can do is pour them in here, and you can nose them, you can taste them, you could try to take a guess. Now, how do you pour yourself a blind flight, you might be asking? Well, this is what I did. I ended up buying these little stickers that you can buy for a yard sale, and they're all different colors. I think it costs like $2 for like 1,000 of them, so totally worth it. And I put a different color on the bottom of each one, and I pour them, and then I mix them all up, and then I go to town. And it's really fun. If I'm sitting around by myself just trying to get a feel for a whiskey, that's what I use. I use the black Glencairns. I think they're very, very cool. And you can get 4 of them them as a pack. So you shouldn't need any more than that unless you're planning on doing a blind flight for a whole bunch of people. All right, moving along. Let's talk cocktail shakers. So if you are into whiskey, it's very likely that you are going to need a cocktail shaker because everybody likes to make cocktails, right? Now, here's where this is a little bit informative, you know, because duh, you need a cocktail shaker, right? So obviously spend a little bit of money to get something of quality. Otherwise, these are going to stick together as soon as they get cold. It's going to be super hard to pull apart. But also, this is a jigger that did not come with it. I actually bought this one specifically because it has a 1 ounce pour and a 2 ounce pour. And it's got little lines for the quarter, half, 3/4, 1, and then this one is 1.5 and then 2. Now, the reason I did this is because I find that a lot of whiskey-based cocktails use 2 ounces of usually bourbon. So I found that it made it a lot easier than just filling this up twice. But also you're going to end up making a whole bunch of other stuff, so you may as well get something that you like. All right, moving along, we're going to go into something I actually don't have on hand, and I'll tell you why. So Icecube trays, right? Duh. Another thing that you probably have, but no, you should get something nicer. You should, in my opinion, there's this big block, and I'll put a picture up here, where you can make 6 ice cubes, and they're large. And the reason that you want large ones is that it melts slower. So you could put that large cube into your rocks glass, and you can enjoy it for a little while, and you're not going to water down your whiskey too much. It will chill it, and you will get some water in there. So of course the flavor is going to be a little different. But you also don't necessarily want to drink half water, half whiskey, unless you do. So I would suggest getting some form of ice cube tray. You get the circles, you get the blocks, you get whatever else, you get the little ones that look like bullets. Do whatever you want, but get something. Okay? The reason I don't have one right now, and this is something that you should know, is over time the silicone ones will start to take on some sort of a smell from being in your freezer. And once that happens, throw it away. Get a new one. So don't impart those flavors of whatever is smelling weird in your freezer into your whiskey. Okay. Moving on to 2 more things, and these are from Aged in Ore. Now, I've talked about Aged in Ore before, so some of you might be tired of hearing about this, but it's kind of like I love these. So I talk about them a lot because I really just want people to get them. I think that they're very cool, and I actually think Aged in Ore is doing unique things, so I'd like to support their business because I'm interested in what they think up next. This was the first product that they did, and I actually reached out to them because I was like, that looks awesome. I want to help you grow your business. Like, let me promote your stuff. So they sent me this, and they sent me a couple of extra of these glass bottles. But I've been, telling people to get this forever, and sorry, it's a little hard to take out. It's on purpose so that it doesn't fall out. So whatever. If I wasn't trying to do it on camera, it would have been easier. Either way, this thing holds a ton. Now, the reason that I would suggest you get a decanter like this is not because I think you should just fill this thing with whiskey. I like to make Manhattans and fill this thing up with like 5 or 6 Manhattans. And then I bring it somewhere and I share it all around. Because I have several of these glass bottles, I actually end up making like 15 of these, and then I'll bring it and share it among 5, 6 guys, and we'll all have 3 or 2 or whatever it ends up being. So really, really cool. Now, also why this is cool is these are tumblers. So you wanted to, you could just pour it right into here and drink it out of here. But more importantly, this thing is solid. If you saw my video, which again, there's a link up here, I tried to break this thing when it was inside of the decanter, and I couldn't do it. I dropped it off my truck. I booted it with my foot. Let's see. I didn't run it over, but I did drop it a whole bunch. And the only thing that happened was one little thing of this little metal plate on the end came off, but it's still metal underneath. It's totally just branding. Either way, so the Aged in Ore decanter is a really, really good thing, and it's a little bit expensive, but I would say it has totally been worth the price, especially knowing that I can travel with it. Speaking of travel, this is the last item today. So this is the Aged in Ore Travel Flight. Now, what this is it's a series of 4 of these 3-ounce containers. And the reason these are cool, so not only are they just aesthetically nice, which when you really get into something, you like things to look nice. People put a lot of money into marketing. They put a lot of money into design and even the packaging. So when you look at this, it is a silicone contained little piece of glass that holds 3 ounces. Even the lid has this nice little texture that makes it really easy to open. So let me tell you what I use these for. Although I can't condone such a thing because it's technically not, I don't think it's illegal. It's just not a good practice and you might get in trouble for it. I bring this on airplanes with me when I go because each one of these is 3 ounces or less. So you can bring it on a plane and it does pack up really nice. This container is very hard. It's actually what same kind of material that my drone goes in. So I know that this is not going to break. But more importantly, you can write on the side, you can write whatever you want. This comes with a little white pen, and you could just write like whiskey, whatever. And you can drink this on a flight. So you're not really supposed to, but whatever. I don't care. I'm absolutely 100% not telling you that you should do that, but I do. I also put some white wine in one of these, and my wife, I was just like, hey, order yourself a cup of ice. And so she did, and I poured it in there, and she had a nice cold white wine on the airplane. So it was very cool. Now this is, I don't remember the price. I'll put it up here. I don't think it's like super cheap, but I will tell you, I've brought this traveling with me, not only on airplanes, but also just on like weekend trips. And 12 ounces or 16 ounces of whiskey. Wait, that's not right. 12 ounces of whiskey. 12 ounces of whiskey can last a couple of days, no problem. And it's just awesome. I really, really like this thing. I'm super excited for what Aged Ore does next. They have a little container that holds kind of like their version of a Glencairn. I'm not super into that. I just don't need it. I don't need more glasses in my life. But it is cool that you can take it around and it's not going to break. So, I mean, that's a cool idea. But either way, I'm not suggesting that because for me, it's not something I use. Get the bottle flight, get the decanter, get everything else I talked about tonight. And I hope that's really it. Like, you get all this stuff, you've got everything that you need. So let's talk about a couple of other little things that were suggested, because I did ask the community what they thought, and I'll just give you my opinion. So the top one that you've probably noticed is missing is whiskey stones. Now, whiskey stones were super popular about 6 years ago, and they were, in my opinion, a fad. They were very cool because people could add their branding to it. They felt nice. They were rocks that you could put in your glass. They looked cool, and it just looked whiskey-ish. So everything about it was marketing, and it didn't really work. They'll chill your glass just like a little bit. I even did a thing with a thermometer where I tried to see how fast they could chill it. Just like didn't work at all. So they're totally not worth it, at least in my opinion. People suggested that you need money. Expendable income is very important if you're getting into whiskey. And that was really it, actually. All of these things seem to be what my audience here also uses. So you can buy with confidence. There's a link to all of this stuff in my description below just to make your life easier. Some of them are affiliate links, so if you buy it, then cool. But like I said, these things are all things I've been using for years, so I can't recommend them enough. All right, well, thank you very much for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Cheers.